The big dance is in full swing, and we have another Locked On bracket breakdown as the top-seeded Houston Cougars took down Northern Kentucky in the first round of the NCAA tournament, 63-52, that final score. I'm Jordan Black, and we are joined by the host of Locked On Coogs, Parker Ainsworth. Parker, a little stat for you from tonight's game: fifth lowest scoring for Houston of this season, with that 63-52 rather final score. Offensive inefficiency was the theme tonight, but maybe a reason for that. Will you elaborate a little bit on what you saw tonight?
Yeah, I think when you go back and look at the worst games Houston's played offensively this season, they generally have this, big bailout card they play at the end. And Marcus Sasser, soon to be first round pick in the NBA draft, came back to Houston for this season, would have probably been drafted last year. And he was coming off of a groin injury, decided to give it a go in the first round tonight. And frankly, it looked like on a fadeaway jump shot somewhere late in the first half, he might have tweaked said groin again. Now, it was just a strain initially. Who knows how bad it was, but he did not enter the game after that. And they didn't have that, trump card there at the end, right? They didn't have anyone that could kind of pick up the slack when the other guy's shots weren't falling. Also looked at various points like Juwan Roberts, the big man down low, might have gotten a knee to the, manhood a little bit, and he was out for a while. And then, they said after the game that Jamal Shed was limping around, the point guard. So there's a lot of stuff going around Houston as far as injuries go. But on the whole, it was not a great shooting night. Just 4 of 16 from three. 2 of those 4 being freshman Emmanuel Sharp, who stepped up in Sasser's absence. But not a great shooting night from the Cougs that we normally are, used to seeing shoot the ball pretty well. You saw no threes attempted by Jarris Walker, 0 for 4 from behind the arc from Tremont Mark. Just not the kind of shooting performance we're used to this season.
Well, the name of the game is survive and advance, and that's what Houston gets to do. So they survive and advance to Saturday's matchup against Auburn, but that game is going to be in Birmingham, which, as we've learned from our Locked On experts, is going to be what feels like a home atmosphere for that Auburn team. What does that mean for Houston? What do you expect from Houston, knowing that this is an injury-laden team now?
Well, one of the quotes of the week last week from head coach Kelvin Sampson was when he saw the bracket, saw the breakdown, saw who their teams were. He's like, well, maybe we should have been a 19 and we'd play closer to home. I have to say that it does feel kind of counterintuitive to earn the number 1 seed all season long and play against a 9 seed in the second round, 2 hours from their campus. And you could hear them, on Thursday night, they were chanting for NKU because they want to play the 16 seed, right? I think that it's, a matchup that on a neutral floor and healthy, I'd feel pretty strong about, but have to imagine health plays a big factor. We got to see what Sasha looks like at shoot around tomorrow. And we also have to imagine that, it's going to feel like a true road game. Houston is undefeated away from home this season. Big wins at Virginia and at Oregon and stuff like that. But this is going to be a real test. Coach Bruce Pearl's a really good coach there at Auburn.
What do you think Houston will have to do on both sides of the ball to be able to take down Auburn?
Well, so I mentioned one first-round draft pick in Marcus Sasser going down hurt. The other one, Jarris Walker, is a one-and-done freshman. He's 6'9", 240, a big prototype pro forward. He had 16 points tonight. So while it was not an efficient 16, it wasn't the prettiest 16. If he can, pick up the slack some himself, and then, you kind of piece it together, other freshmen and other guys coming off the bench, like we mentioned with Manuel Sharp or, maybe even Terrence Arsenault, another freshman coming off the bench, and find ways to just spot those points together. And then, frankly, Houston's defense led the way for them all season. As atrocious as the game looked in a lot of ways, that did hold Northern Kentucky to 52 points. Northern Kentucky's been scoring more like 68, 69 points per game. So they can continue to kind of, ride that wave a little bit. They might win an ugly one and then live on for another week.
Yeah, well, you mentioned winning an ugly one, you still win, but sometimes it's good to have one of those tough games at the beginning and get it out of the way. What do you think about that for a team that's this strong and this highly seeded as we move forward in the tournament and kind of getting it out of the way in the first round?
It's got to be a nice wake-up call to win this kind of game. I guess, obviously, Virginia had their own wake-up call on March Madness, opening day, and had the other, side of that one. I feel like, I think that it makes sense that you win the ugly one. You breathe easier. Okay, we are fallible. We do have to listen. We do have to, we can't just walk through anyone that shows up. It would be nicer on my, own heartbeat if we win a pretty one. But I think there's something to that as far as waking yourself up a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, for more on Houston, all those injuries, what to expect moving forward, make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Coogs. Parker, we appreciate you. And for a full view of the bracket and all the action, subscribe to Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks, everyone, for watching and listening.